Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line in community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics. Hello, and welcome to another episode of New to Mythics, episode 92. I'm joined by J-Lo Fidelity. Welcome. How are
Hello.
you, Jay?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, man. Thank you for taking the time and being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me and having such relaxing music. I feel very
I
calm.
try to set the vibe of just, two friends conversating.
Yeah, I like
You know?
conversating.
Yeah, I do too. Um, I will preface by saying that I'm a fan of
Thank
yours.
you.
I don't know you very well, but I love your work, and
Appreciate that.
I had wanted to ask you to be on the show for a while. I did have you on, I think the Goblin, the Swig thing.
Yes, the swig thing.
That was an interesting show
It
because
was.
it was. I think I said something minorly disparaging, and it I think it hurt Kirby's feelings because I was like, it was not really my favorite episode or my favorite show, just
Oh,
because I feel like maybe people were nervous or people wanted other people to like talk, and it kind of just was like a quiet episode. um,
that's so like not to interrupt you, but that was
no,
partially what I that was probably like the third time maybe I've been on
Mhm.
a live. And sometimes if there are a lot of people, I have this thought in my head like you can't just talk because you're not the host. And it seemed like there was you and Terrence and Gina
Mhm.
and Kirby, and I was like, well, there's something I want to say, but I'm going to blurt it out. And do I speak now? But I
Yeah,
haven't been on
there's
this. Probably got to be my seventh time on a YouTube show, so I'm learning how to speak in public.
you're doing well. You're
I
doing
mean, I'm just
well.
kidding around. Yeah.
No, it was my fault. I guess I just wasn't prepared, or I don't know. It just, some shows have like different vibes, and that one for some reason, like I couldn't wait for it to end. I was like, this is just the
Really?
oddest, weirdest, and I just felt awkward. I just felt like I had failed to do
I
like a
did
decent
not get
show.
that vibe at all. I enjoyed
Okay.
it. I enjoyed I'm kidding and just kind of like making fun of myself because that's just the way I am. But I enjoyed it, and I thought it was really interesting. Kirby's slideshow actually
I
was.
loved that. Was my favorite part. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
I mean,
part.
I thought about that. I rewatched it just to watch the slideshow again because there was some
Mhm.
really interesting stuff in there about like applications of like high art to like
Yes.
what you would some people would consider low art, which
Mhm.
I wouldn't consider. But that is actually like it's one of the things I would keep on saying actually it's one of the things I'm more passionate about than a lot of like in painting and in even in reading. I've
Mhm.
always loved that, and in art, art like sort of like like Warhol and stuff like that, where you
Mhm.
have something that is in that sense celebrity culture meeting high art. So when he was showing the Vader helmets repainted by all these icons that are people who would have work in galleries,
Mhm.
the that like middle ground fascinates me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I
I find
love
it
to see
so interesting.
people's. I was just talking to someone about like their personal style. I think it was David Williams. I was talking about their style or how people are born with that style. But I think it's interesting where you could take, and I think someone did that with Valiant Knights. Like I think the studio gave like
Yes.
different people some valiant nights, and like their art, like their flavor and their interpretation, or they just did whatever they wanted, like it was like a canvas and they just did whatever they wanted. And I think that is so interesting.
That's how I see this line, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is like a canvas. And yeah, I think in painting, that's been one of the things that's most often on my mind when I am painting. It's something that's on my mind all the time. And I think that comes from being a lit major
Mm-hmm.
and just reading a lot of authors who were writing stuff that would be like really canonized, sort of, I can't think of the name of the book awards. The one that you get, oh my God, Pulitzer Prize winning book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A Pulitzer Prize for a book that was a fictional, it was based on the story of the people who created Superman comic.
Mm-hmm.
It was mixed with like information about one of them was like a Holocaust survivor. So it was like this really long book. It was like an 800-page book.
Oh wow.
It was about people who created comic books, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a comic book based on the one that they were creating in the book. It's called The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay.
Yeah.
And
I remember that book. I remember that book. Yeah.
It's great. And even and I don't like, I'm not a DC fan. I would like that book a lot more if it was about, Captain America, but I kid.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I agree.
But that sort of thing is the author. His name is on the tip of my tongue, but there are a number of things that he wrote where he sort of meshes genre fiction, I guess is what it's called, which is like he did something that was like a what if Sherlock Holmes was real sort of story, which is so mystery, like genre fiction, and you wouldn't win a Pulitzer for writing Sherlock Holmes. Anyway,
I'm trying to think of his name too. I know who you're talking about, and I can't think of his name either.
Michael something. Michael.
I had a few of his books. Chabon, yeah. Chabon.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's not. Yeah, I just now I can't think of the guy who wrote the correction. It's not important. But yeah, he wrote that idea and sort of this postmodern, like it's all of this. I'm going to go on a real tangent now.
No,
I'm
go for it.
Remembering names, so it's probably best that I don't. But a lot of that, like when I think about stuff like this, a lot of it comes from, like, I used to teach and I did a lot of lessons on like modern art. And so I always think about that mashup of what would be in a gallery and then something like box art for Masters of the Universe or G.I. Joe, and that middle ground like really fascinates me. I'm sort of repeating myself, but I'd rather look at the box art on like the G.I. Joe vehicles that have kind of more of a background. I said G.I. Joe, I meant Masters of the Universe.
Right.
Then I would like to look at like a Matisse, for instance. Right. I strongly dislike Matisse, but that is besides the point.
I mean, it's what interests you,
Yeah, but I mean,
it's subjective.
It's subjective, but it's also the modern world that we live in. That it's interesting. It fascinates me.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, like in older times, they didn't have social media. They didn't have things like to inspire them. Like what inspired them was around them, maybe.
Right.
So I guess now we're more inspired maybe by what we can, what's around us or what we can look up or what's, someone else has done in another part of the world, or I don't know. It's like we have more things to experience and to see and to, witness, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess it's art styles. I mean, how many, I'm trying to think, was it Lily Pez, that guy that Matisse painted a lot of? I don't know why he's my example. I don't like, not Picasso, Van Gogh either. I don't know.
I liked Van Gogh's style, like how it kind of all flowed, like it was kind of a directional, I don't know. I just thought it
Not
was
for me.
cool. Not for you.
I like. I guess I like more modern art.
There's nothing wrong with that. No,
No.
I mean, but I like all different types. Like whatever moves me,
Yeah.
I like, but I don't have
Yeah.
like a set.
I've already
So
derailed the conversation from toys. We've almost not spoken about toys at all.
we'll get there.
I
We'll
told
get
you this would
there.
happen.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind talking about it. So like you don't have a thing where you're like, this is art and this is not, so like you're accepting of
Right.
all art forms and not,
Sure. I mean, what is folk art? Half of when you go to a museum, they have a folk art like section, and I don't maybe have the most full understanding of it, but it's just stuff that a person made that was not a famous artist. And centuries later, or a century later, somebody said, "Well, this is local art," or
right.
I mean, I had the, I guess, kind of privilege of living within walking distance ish. That's not right. We'll say a subway stop from the Brooklyn Museum for a long time, and there were some great exhibits there. The best exhibit that I saw, well, there are two. One of them was an exhibit on the early '80s in New York in music and art, and the installation you could put on headphones and listen to Sonic Youth, but also then go look at a Basquiat. And there was a song that Basquiat produced under a different name, Rammelsy, I believe, and you could listen to it and look at the painting. And like
That's pretty
that
cool.
was sick, listening to like a hip hop song from like 1983
Right.
or might be 81, and then looking at his painting, like that's a cool installation.
Yeah.
And then another one I went to was the history of sneakers. And so, I mean, and this is I'm like a wannabe sneakerhead because it's a very expensive.
It is. Yeah.
I would collect a lot of things if I could have space and the money for it, but I do have like a decent collection of Nike Dunks. I really do love them, but I wear them. I don't like keep them. So,
right.
But anyway, that exhibit, it was a traveling exhibit, was phenomenal, and it just was it started with, I guess, Chuck Taylor's, but then when it got to the 80s,
that's my favorite,
and it was like my childhood, and they had the Jordans and the Agassiz and even the Patrick Ewings and the pumps, and just like reading about it and then seeing the sneakers like never worn, and the Marty McFlys, which are obviously iconic. That stuff is cool, and if you told my parents' generation that counted as art, I couldn't convince my mother to get me a pair of Jordans, let alone tell her that
right.
I was going to go to a museum exhibit with them. But that's the thing. That's like kind of like industrial design to a degree.
I think like what we see as art is definitely changed. I think anything that is expressed creatively could be labeled as art.
Sure. Architecture, I mean, obviously, but like in the MoMA, I used to love going to the MoMA. They have a whole section of just furniture. It's so cool.
Yeah,
because you look at this furniture from the 50s, and like that stuff is like
yes.
a Mad Men set.
Yes,
and that stuff is
yes.
like mid-century modern furniture is incredible. And if you look at industrial art, like I wouldn't say that the McDonald's arches are like aesthetically pleasing, but whoever came up with the McDonald's arches,
right.
I mean, he's that person. I'm assuming it's a he just because of the time in. That's a different thing, but whoever they are, like they did a great job.
And no, I agree. And I think no, me too. I think about that, like how we've kind of moved away from craftsmanship and artistry into mass generate, just mass produced disposable, junk.
Well, yes, and then we're going to have a world dominated by AI art, which is going to be. I was thinking about this. This is slightly off subject, but at some point, if AI is imitating the art it finds online, it's going to be imitating AI, and if it can't imitate human art very well, and then it's imitating poorly imitated human art that it made. Imagine that slow degeneration process.
Yeah.
Because if you use, this is how this is again totally off subject, but if you can recognize very easily if something is written in AI because ChatGPT has a style. But now any other AI, if you have something write it, it sounds like ChatGPT. So it's copying. I think it's copying what it sees that ChatGPT. Like if you use Claude, it sounds the same. So that's that whole train of thought kind of ended there. This is what I was thinking about today when I dropped my daughter off.
That's okay. I mean, it's interesting you talk about art because I mean, to bring it back, like what you make to me is art. You know, some people might say it's a custom figure, and I'm like, no, like your stuff is different to me because it seems like art. And I'm not slighting other customizers. I think there's a bunch out there that are doing fire shit. Like they're making some amazing stuff.
I am really influenced by other customizers all the time. Maybe it'll come out looking a little bit different, but there are a ton of people that when I look at what they make, I get thoughts. There was something that Brian Ramos posted. I want to say it actually might have been yesterday. That was incredible. It was like almost all black, and it was so goth, and I loved it. And I was it got me thinking about ways to use black that I hadn't thought about in a while. So like I see things that, and that comes back to genre because people are making stuff that are maybe it looks like it could be at home in a comic and like in Conan the Barbarian in whatever. But like that stuff is art. So I have comic books that I take like that I'm just kidding, but it's just
I saw your post. Was that today or yesterday about some comics that you're going to reread? I think.
Oh yeah, man! This is Headlopper,
and I was like, yes, I'm glad that you read comics, man. I was like, oh,
that's all right.
I got to talk to you about comics because I'm a huge fan, but I prefer like the indie type of.
This is an indie comic about a barbarian who chops off heads, called Headlopper. He just chops heads off of everything. It's totally tongue-in-cheek. The art is insane. And also he carries around the head of a witch he beheaded who didn't die, I guess, and still talks and just kind of makes fun of him as he goes. The art is these are alternative covers, so I don't know.
See here.
Like the art is
yeah.
The reflection is not great, awesome. But Andrew McLean is an incredible artist.
What's the who publishes that?
It's Image.
Oh,
so
Image.
There's about 4 volumes, and he just started again. It's coming out in April, and it's been a while. So I'm excited. That's the reason I wound up deciding to reread it, because I don't remember 100% what happened in it. But like, I have Paper Girls, which is I can't think of the. I said not Brian Wilson, the guy who did Saga. I don't know. The colors are amazing. This is a really underrated series because they made it into an awful Netflix show, and this is like, this is like a Bible for me almost, and that's really an exaggeration and sounds very pretentious, but I love. Unfortunately, he's been canceled, but Warren Ellis's Moon Knight is the colors. Incredible. And then the contrast, because I'll do this every once in a while. Like I love just the black and white of that and the shading. And sometimes when I paint, I'll just open this up, and these are also, sometimes I just read them. Like I've got random stuff I'm rereading here, like Shaolin Cowboy. It's a really great.
See, I saw that and I've heard of it, but I've never read it, and that got me I forgot about it. So I'm like, I need to.
It is so bonkers. There's a scene in which he kicks a crab, and it must kill like 50 people. Just goes through all their heads, and then it hits a car, and the car flips, and then kills. It's like it's nuts. Jeff Darrow, who wrote and illustrated it, is like an absolute like. He's a great storyteller. There's not the guy's got a talking. I don't know how to explain it. It is the most off the wall comic. I think there might be 3 volumes. And I met him at New York Comic Con. He was selling them, and there was no line. It was like people didn't know who he was. But this is like he did hard boiled.
Yeah, I remember Hard Boiled.
Yeah, he did Hard Boiled, which is that's like a real classic.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's no line to get things autographed. And he was the most normal, down-to-earth dude. I was just thinking, like, this guy's so unhinged in his imagination. But
yeah,
I'm tempted to get it out and show you, like, scenes from it, but maybe after the show. I'll show you.
Yeah, after the show.
Everybody should be Shaolin Cowboy, though.
I will look into it, because I remember when it came out and I was like, this is interesting. That's a crazy name. I need to and I like the art and stuff. I spent about 6 months in New York, and I was just so happy to be there. I love the East Coast, and New York Comic Con was just happened to be, going when I was there. And I went, and the whole, like, artist, I don't know what it's called. It's like an aisle. Yeah, Artist Alley was just batshit. But, like, I mean, Frank Miller was there, and I was just like,
oh wow.
I didn't like. I went around the corner. Yeah, he was there. This was 2 years ago, and he looked terrible. He looked terrible. I mean, he looked awful. But I just being in the same room, and I, like, lifted my phone up like this, and they're like, whoa. I'm like, I can't take a one picture, so I have the sliver of his face
because he wants you to pay for it.
Yes.
I loved Artist Alley, and I went to Comic Con for I must be like 6 years in a row, and then I skipped 2 years. One was because of the pandemic. I was going with my daughter, and we both dress up. And then I wound up thinking, like, there's a lot of money at this time of year. I'm just going to go to Legion's Con instead and spend all the money on that. But I have like a wall of, aside from, I have a lot of signed comics, but I have a wall of sketches on blank cover, So, like, an X-Men with the blank cover. I have a lot of really amazing, and I have a ton of Moon Knight sketches. I have a sketch.
I love Moon Knight.
I love Moon Knight's my favorite, depending on who wrote the book. I guess more modern Moon Knight. But I have a Moon Knight sketch by Alex Maleev.
Oh wow!
Which I got on Sunday, 2 hours before it closed. Right? He did it in pencil and then made it watercolor by using a paintbrush and water, obviously. And it was $75. He's like a $300 commission.
Right.
Which is like, if you're ever at an Artist Alley, wait until the last minute. If they don't have anything going on, it's amazing what deals you could get. But I have some really, really amazing, like, super cool sketches. That was, one of my favorite things about Comic-Con.
Yeah, I was blown away. Too. Wow. Yeah, I remember I saw him there. I didn't meet him, but I was probably more in awe of them than if I saw, like, upstairs they had, like, the actors and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But, like, seeing these artists,
crazy.
Oh yeah,
I never even considered. The only time I almost went to meet Brian Michael Bendis, but that I wasn't going to meet online. But Chris Claremont, I've gotten something signed by him every single year. And I the first time I went with my daughter, she was dressed as Kitty Pryde. That's both of our favorite characters. I literally have a Kitty Pryde statue right behind me, and it is.
Kitty Pryde's awesome. You remember Kitty Pryde and Wolverine?
Yes.
I don't know how old you were back then, but that
was a little bit young too. I wasn't reading that when it came out. That's like 84, 85.
Yes,
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
I have read
that was my era. That was the shit when I was a kid. Like, it was so mature and, like, so different than, like, the normal Captain America and, Spider-Man and stuff. Like, that was like a mature comic that was just rad, just completely off the wall.
I think that at the point that I was reading comics, she was an Excalibur, and Excalibur was
Mhm.
not the type of thing that would have grabbed me at that age. But to be fair, like I was reading Ghost Rider, and
Mhm.
and it's Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, which is so cool in when you're in 6th grade in 1991,
Mhm.
and it is not good. Like, it does not hold up. When they finally put out the anthology, I bought it immediately. I was so hyped, and I was really, really disappointed. I was really into the
You're like,
spirits. I was really into the
it's gonna
spirits of
get good in a
vengeance.
minute. It's gonna get
Let me
good.
tell you something. I brought it to work at the time, thinking I'm so excited to read this. I don't even care if anybody says I'm going to read a comic book in the lounge, and like a just pretty big job. I don't know a lot of people. I was fairly new there at the time, and yeah, I was like, wow, this just is not great. But I loved it. I loved the team up with Johnny Blaze when he was not Ghost Rider, and not great. But old Ghost Rider from the 70s also, and that the stories are not good, but that art is fantastic. I love
Yes.
that.
Right.
That stuff's like iconic to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love comic books, and just they're such an integral part of me growing up.
Yeah.
Getting a comic and just reading it cover to cover and enjoying the art. It was just, I don't know. It was like the most important thing.
But that's
It
like
was
low art,
just,
high art. See,
it's high art. Absolutely.
it is. But
And back then
nobody would have thought so when we were kids. Even when we were kids in the 80s, nobody would have thought so. Let alone
right.
So, but that now you could see that stuff in a museum.
Right.
Actually,
Yeah.
his Claremont's works, his entire published works and his unpublished works they have a collection in the archives in Columbia University, where
Wow.
they
I
also
didn't know
have all
that.
of the works of Jack Kerouac and all of the works of, I want to
Mhm.
say, other very famous authors. And it's
Right.
in that sense, they're equal. And that's what I mean. Like, that's the 6, 7. Every time I do this, that's not even funny anymore.
But no, I'm with you. I agree. It's like, but it's like our era. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
maybe we don't appreciate, fine high art, but our art in our time is different. It's art to us.
Yeah. Well, there are people who are also doing it that I think, because a lot of the artists now, I think, are aware of the history, and kind of get that they're maybe illustrating something that might be a little bit campy, but they also have an understanding of high art. It's not
Mhm.
just like the illustrators who are in, like Jim Starlin was doing really crazy things in the 70s, but for the most part, I think people who doing the illustration then were sort of, there's a word that I can't think of, but I think you have people who are doing art now who are keenly aware of like color, and there's just a
Mhm.
lot. It's like a very much beyond.
Mhm.
I think that you could have any splash page in a modern indie book and put it up, in a gallery, and it would look incredible with
I
no
agree.
context. And you can
I
put,
agree.
Professor Xavier is a jerk on a gallery, and like I would love that because that's my favorite splash page in the history of comics. But
Mhm.
it doesn't translate. It's not the same. And that's like John Byrne. I mean, not to knock John Byrne, but
I do
I
love
think
John
that's,
Byrne.
yeah, me too. That's my favorite actual X-Men era. Even
Mhm.
though all of that stuff came out before I was actively reading, but that the stuff that's coming out now, all that the stuff, I don't know where I put this. The stuff that I had, like that stuff is like really, it's next level.
Yeah, for sure. So, have you always been kind of interested in art and being creative, and like
Nope.
what kind of outlets? No.
I used to write a lot, right? So like I thought that I've always been creative, and I've always wanted an outlet
Mhm.
to do that. And I wrote a lot. I had a minor in creative writing. Um, and I could never really get what I wanted out. And I didn't realize I was a visual person
Mhm.
because I could see what I wanted to write. Like I could visualize a story, but it was like I was like visualizing, trying to write a movie, I guess.
Right.
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 So like And it's because, you know, my father and all of my friends, you know, if you look at, there's the test you take that tells you like types of intelligence, everybody around me was very much whatever the intelligence is associated with writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a good writer, but I didn't realize that I was a visual person until I like 20, probably the 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 6 years. And that's
Yeah.
because I started customizing. And that's when I realized how much color had an effect on me. And that's when I looked back and I realized all the things that's when I was looking back and I was like, wow, like I didn't know a ton about art. I was just teaching this humanities class for like a college credit. And I wrote I didn't like the curriculum. So I wrote another one and I wound up, you know, doing something with some exploring modern art. And I didn't realize how much I loved that. Like it clicked over time. I think color has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's I don't know. It's a psychological thing, maybe to a degree.
It all is. It's all our psyche. It's all connected, I think.
Yeah.
Like our collecting, art, customizing, all that stuff. I think psyche definitely is involved. So are you not a toy person? Or how did you say, like, you know what, I'm going to customize figures? Did you customize other stuff first?
So what happened was I was playing D&D, which I was playing Pathfinder, but for all intents and purposes, the same. And I was painting miniatures and I really enjoyed it just for relaxing. And the idea of like, there's a certain creativity because I went to, I forget the name of the company where you could design your own miniature and they print it and send it to you. But I was doing that and I really enjoyed that. And then I'd always looked at custom. So I started collecting figures. I was buying Marvel Legends for my daughter because she was super into Marvel and super into My Little Pony. And like, I was good to not get her into anything else. Like, we watched My Little Pony all the time and we watched a bunch of X-Men and whatever. And so I guess I probably wanted the Marvel Legends for myself, but like the first wave would be the X-Men Juggernaut Build-A-Figure wave. That's where I was buying figures because she wanted some of them. And the first figure I bought for myself was a Deadpool from that wave. So that's like 2016 or 17, maybe 17. I'm not really sure. And so around the same time, I guess I was painting miniatures. And then I started painting just the weapons because I couldn't stand the lack of detail on the weapons.
Terrible.
Yeah. And it was fun. Dry brushing is literally the most therapeutic thing in the world.
It's relaxing for sure.
Yeah. So then I was doing that and I had loved looking at custom figures on eBay back in the day when if you wanted to look at custom figures, you would like Robo or would have on the videos, you would go through, I think Robo, somebody on the push would go through just looking at custom figures on eBay. Nobody does that anymore because that hobby is totally different now. But so I decided to start making customs. I think so. I know exactly what. So that there was a Lalandra head that came with Professor X and no body. So everybody was putting it on the Silver Sable body.
Right. I remember that.
Is right. You remember that? So then I decided there was the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. There was a female figure in that wave that had like a slightly different body. And that wave was based on a great comic book that nobody cared about. That was a crappy wave. So it was cheap. And I had figured out a way to make it look a little bit more like Lalandra. And I didn't do a great job painting it. But then I had the extra silver. I was going to do the Silver Sable. And then I decided not to do that. So I had the extra Silver Sable head anyway. And I thought it looked a lot like her name escapes me. The New Mutant with the dream powers. Lieben Bear one with the dream powers. Danny Moonstar.
Yeah, Danny Moonstar.
I decided I was going to make a Danny Moonstar. And then I decided I was going to make all the New Mutants. And then the Danny Moonstar figure came out with all of the heads. And then I decided I was going to make all the New Mutants, but in their original costume. And that's how I started this. And this was rolling right into the pandemic. And at the same time, the first figure I think I actually made was a Moon Knight, the Mr. Knight in the suit. I've made 1,000 of those. The first one I made was terrible. I used there was the Deadpool suit when he was all white with the red tie, the hit monkey. But then like I got into doing all the panel lining on that. And that's, I've done a ton of those. But anyway, that's it. I just did a lot of Marvel customs. And then when the classified line came out, and then I was collecting actively, and like a lot. I just needed to build out the collection of every Marvel character I could. And the classified line was kind of a game changer for me because it was very easy to switch things around and the sculpting was great. And I wasn't collecting Mythic Legions because they were really hard to get and expensive. They weren't like something that was ever just on sale.
Right.
And the parts were very different. I had eventually the 3D printing community really is what had me dive into customizing. And so I discovered, this is a long time ago, I discovered Planetary Dog Toys, my action figure customs, and Wolf King customs, most specifically. And there's a lot of stuff that I have. I just painted something recently that I got in 2021 from Wolf King. Like I have stuff I've been ordering from them forever. And that's when any Legion stuff I did was because I got a kit or something that really inspired me to get a figure if I could, and then make, like there's one thing I did that was a Planetary Dog Toys kit, but pretty much everything else was like the Kitsune kits from Wolf King. I've done like 4 of those. I really like those. And so on and so forth. And then, the thing about that was a realization that hit me that I was making a sort of alternate versions of characters. It's very hard to explain. I was making I had a plot of figures I was making that was like a weird alternate version of G.I. Joe based on like, what if the Pimp Daddy Destro figure was actually like in charge of making an army for Cobra. So everything looked really outrageous. And then it was like an alternative biography for all these characters. But it was still rooted in the lore of something I grew up in. And I made some original characters, but I was mostly doing like, what if Deadpool dressed like, the Pimp Daddy Destro sort of thing. But then, looking at the type of head sculpts that were coming out for Legions figures, it was very different. You just have like animals. And there was something very like whimsical and wholesome sometimes. And that's, there was not everything was whimsical and wholesome, but it's just so different to me. And it just struck me. And there was something that I can't think of there was like I cannot think of the word. There was a kit that had come out that I guess Jeremy had come up with based on like the world. I don't actually remember the myth. It was a turtle head. The myth was really interesting. I had never heard of it before, but it was it was like an obscure, it was almost like it was like an abstraction as an action figure. Right. And I
don't think I've seen that.
Jeremy.
So I don't think I've seen that.
I wonder, I feel like I should have one of the heads right by me. And I can't think of what it's called. And it's driving me crazy. But the story behind it was sort of this myth of this world turtle that was like, I don't remember the myth, but it was not, the figure was just like a turtle warrior, but it was based on something much bigger.
Right.
So it was this idea in my head that like blew my mind that you can make a figure and have it be an abstraction. And that's really slowly what had me moving more towards doing mythic figures, because I realized that is something that serves as a blank canvas to do whatever you
Yes.
want with.
Right.
When I couldn't get them, I was getting, anything that had interesting sculpting rather than immediately looking like, a soldier.
Right.
So even like, I think the first figures I did that were sort of my own abstractions were like predator figures, because it just was, the body could look like something else really if you put a different head on it. More than if you put, you got like a shipwreck body. I love Shipwreck's my favorite G.I. Joe, but it still looks like a guy in a button down.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like finding that, or like, like the Master of the Universe figures, that kind of was, that's like the moment where I realized that I could go someplace really far out there. And that is when I realized that that's when I started really messing around with like getting actually more creative and weird. And, I had a pretty decent following from doing G.I. Joe customs. I had done a whole bunch of, there was a period in which you were doing classified customs and like literally you would do a character and you could be the first person to do it. And everybody would, it was a small community because that was a new line. I would say for sure it's possible that I was maybe the first person to do like Cult of the Zartan, because it's a small community. I followed everybody. We all followed each other. And I remember somebody doing something and I would say to them like, oh man, I was about to do that. And they're like, yeah, I'm glad I got this done first. It was like almost a competition. I'm sure I'm not the first person to do it, but like I got Zartan in the mail and ordered another one because I needed to do that immediately when I had the idea.
Yeah.
And then I had done all of Ninja Force and that was very popular. And then I lost the point of this story is I lost that entire following. Some of them may follow me. They certainly don't look at anything I make anymore because it's not like at all what they want to see.
Yeah.
And in trying to make things that were what I liked, I torpedoed my like entire social media until I rebuilt it upon really finding this community. And that's the story of me as a customizer. I didn't know I was going to succinctly sum that up so well, but that's like really, 2024 Legions, I had started really, I switched to 100% Legions customs, probably maybe February 2024. And that Legions Con, I went with my daughter and I knew Josh Brown. He's like one of the only people I spoke to. And I was like, oh man, and Kevin, who has like 7 different names. He's key in the Cabal and NYC Fig Fanatic on Instagram. Those are the 2 people I spoke to. Actually, I knew Kevin for a long time. And that was it. And I walked in and I was like, why am I not part of this community? I should be saying hi to everyone here.
Right.
And part of me was like, as a customizer, it's a shame that I don't know how nobody knows, like, I've been making everything in this line. And I like had known Terrence from, Swig, and him and I were talking.
Right.
And I was like, I think that this is because I couldn't find, I got to a point when I was saying to myself, making customs, there is an audience for this.
Yes.
You just don't know where it is, because I could not I went from going, and it's the sort of thing that mattered to me a lot more then than now. But like, I really went from like, 100 likes on something, which I don't even still get but to like 15. And I was like, where do I find an audience for this? And at Legion's Con, I was like, this is it. Like, this is where these are like my people.
Yes.
Kind of. I saw that and I spent a lot of money on 3D printed parts, which was great. And I didn't even like bother introducing myself to anyone. I introduced myself to Len because, as I said, I've been buying stuff from Wolf King for so long that I had to like introduce myself to him. And him and I, like, he kind of knew who I was anyway from following me. So, but I said to myself, I was like, by next year, like, you're going to figure out, because I wasn't in the Cabal. I didn't have a Facebook. That's the reason why. So I had said, and I said to my daughter, it's like, next year I'm coming, and like, people are going to be my friends, and people, this has to be like my audience. And also people that I want to know. And I didn't realize by any means, and I didn't anticipate the change between going and knowing two people, three, I guess, but I had just like met Terrence, right? So really two people, and then going last year and like having things at two tables to display and sell, and just not knowing where to go because there's so many people I want to say hi to that I had met like virtually. It was wild, which it was some year. It was a terrible year otherwise, and that was something that got me through it for sure. So
you had brought
me as a customizer. I could have just written a book. Just summed it up really. Man, I'll tell you something. I slept very poorly. I was woken up very early by my daughter who overslept, and I had to drive her to school. She doesn't live with me. She lives 10 minutes away, but like I intended on sleeping in a little bit later. And so I had a migraine all day long. I had a cup of coffee late in the day, and I am really, this is the most like talking in a straight line you will ever get me, apparently.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So do you buy Mythics or Cosmics? Like, do you buy them only to customize? And then which ones?
I do, but like that's kind of like a financial thing. I would love to buy a lot more than I buy. I just think, in the end, I would rather have a decent stockpile to turn to customize. There's stuff that I keep more and more. I find myself wanting to, like Scaffold 2 and the Nymph, the Chirel, I guess, really, not the Nymph is what I have on display. Necronominus. So everything that I've bought that's been a figure obscura, I've bought to display first and foremost, because that line is so cool.
Yeah.
That's the sort of, like I was saying, like the literature. That's actually one of the things that got me was the Mask of Red Death.
Yeah.
That figure and the fact that they made a character from Edgar Allan. I'm going to try to say that name again. Edgar Allan Poe book, like, really got me.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. It's a beautiful figure.
Yeah, it is.
It's art. It is art.
Absolutely. I remember that coming, and my daughter, not really very much into action figures, like is aware of this world and interested in it to a degree, but like taking it, being totally in awe of the packaging. She read the story. I mean, she was in like, I don't know what, she was in elementary school, read the whole thing. She's like a voracious reader, but I mean, the packaging, got her. But that Necronominus is the first figure that I guess like I could not bear to customize. I bought it to customize, and I was kind of lucky. The one that I got was messed up, and I got it from Big Bad Toy Store, and they allowed me to keep it and sent me a new one. And like whatever was messed up, I had another skeleton that I was able to kind of replace the parts, which allowed me to make a custom with, which actually was one of my favorite customs I've ever made. Necronominus is that's one of my favorite action figures of all time.
It's amazing.
I think, when I applied for intern, they asked what my favorite figure in the line was, and I wrote Necronominus, and that had just come out, and I was like, nobody's going to take me seriously if I say this, but it is. It's like the most obvious answer, but it is. And I actually have Trevor's photograph here that I got at Legion's Con.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to be amongst the people that make,
it's
these
very
amazing figures
sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I find it to be very bizarre.
It's surreal.
Yeah,
it's surreal.
I mean, he lives by here. I hung out with him, like going to Zolocon, and we got along very well. It was very chill. So at no point did I even think about. There's like no connection I make between the two. I don't like the, I'm not interested in meeting people for. I like meeting nice people and talking to them. I don't have like a desire to have like an insider-y relationship with people. If that, I don't know how else to phrase it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like, he's a cool. I like him a lot. We get along well. But hopefully, him, myself, and Steph, and maybe some other people will be able to get some get like a group together to play the role playing game.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
We were talking about that, but again, like I don't. It's just people. They're people, and then there's also the artist who made that, and I don't really think about it the same.
Yeah.
But maybe I mean I know now it's him, and I told him when I bought this. Actually, what was crazy to me is when I bought this, the first thing he said to me when I met him, not buying this is not part of it, but he was like, did you see Darla's capes? Because Ackerman, she has this one cape like tie-dye that would look great with one of your figures. And I was like, this is bizarre because I've never actually spoken to you. And you just made a connection between something somebody else made and like the way that I paint and suggested it. And what's also funny is I had already bought it. Yeah. The first thing I bought, I reserved it. I was like, I need this.
I love that cape. That cape is awesome.
Yeah, man, that cape is incredible. And I reserved it like ahead of time, basically. But that was kind of like an interesting, and that was when he was just the guy who did the photographs. But I don't like thinking about people, like that. It's weird.
I think it's interesting though that in this community, people celebrate creativity. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I think we geek out in is that people like Trevor or Eric Treadaway or Nate Barch or, these amazing customizers, people geek out on the creativity. So it's like for Legion's Con, it's like Artist Alley. Go down this, you go down, there's Arthur Zoran. There's, like all these amazing, and then there's J-Lo, there's all these amazing customizers.
Again, that I didn't catch it. And I was like, Jennifer Lopez?
Where's J-Lo at? Where's J-Lo at?
The funny thing is, like, I don't know any. I mean, I know Arthas, but I don't know anybody. The only people I know that I've met at the studio, I've met, like, I knew Len before he worked at the studio.
Yeah.
And now I know Trevor. I spoke to Jeremy once, and Adam, who I speak to, like, he's like the only person I know well, and that's it.
Dude. He's a good dude.
He's great.
But what I mean is just
like I have a lot in common. But like the thing is that I don't feel it. I'm sure I will meet them at some point, but I don't feel the need to kind of like. It's almost nice to be removed from it in a way, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain what my point is, but
it's okay.
I don't like want to see. I don't know. I'm sure I'll meet a lot of these people. I guess like maybe I have that imposter syndrome in which I feel like if people did want to meet me, it just still seems weird to me. Like
I wanted to meet you.
This thought process for the audience, my thought process, just like there was something in my head that made sense, and it just. But yeah, I don't know. Ask me a question because I just got confused by myself.
That's okay. No, that's all right. Are you planning on bringing your customs to Legion's Con this year?
I don't know. I did apply to be on the waiting list for a table. I don't know how that's going to pan out. I'm going to have a table at CarverCon. That'll be a testing ground.
Mm-hmm.
My thought, I mean, it was kind of strange having things at two different places that were not run by me, that were being sold or just even looked at, because I didn't see people looking at them, which would have been cool. But I think maybe it'd be easier to sell things if you were sitting there and people asked you questions. I don't really know. It would be nice to be in charge of how things were displayed.
Right.
And just have I'd like to make like a cool, and I might be getting ahead of myself and too ambitious, but I'd like to have a really, really cool display. I don't know what that would entail. It would definitely entail black lights. We'll see. But CarverCon is also just going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
I can go and not sell a ton and, whatever. When Brian asked me about it, one of the things he said, I was like, it's cool that you're doing this and you're focused on the community. He was like, I just want to see my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know him. That was the first time I spoke to him. And I was like, it struck me. I was like, yeah, I get this. This makes sense to me. But yeah, I told him to give me a table next to Josh Brown. And I think I'm going in with, I don't remember how things were. I talked to two different people about carpooling, but I want to say I talked to Detour about carpooling and Crom.
Larry?
About carpooling. Yeah. We'll see.
Mark Lonke. Mark Lonke.
Yes.
His name. Yeah,
right.
Crom.
I haven't spoken to him in a while, so I don't know.
How do you feel, and this will probably make you uncomfortable, but how do you feel about people kind of looking for you and looking for the stuff that you're making? Like you're kind of, making a name for yourself in this community and people are wanting to buy your customs.
It's very surreal. It's very surreal. Again, like I've been making customs for a very, very, very long time. And I did it during the pandemic. I did it in a bubble. I never anticipate. I don't know anybody else who even collect. None of my friends collect action figures. Most of them don't even read comics. So like,
that's a shame.
It is. Well, yes, of course. I mean, it's their loss,
yeah.
But like, so it's totally foreign to all of my friends. So like, I really was doing this in a bubble where the only outlet I had was Instagram. Right. And it was kind of like I made something and I just wanted people to see it. And I didn't even sell things to people. I was like uncomfortable doing it. The first commission I accepted.
That's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah. The first commission I accepted was Turbo Dork, the guy from Turbo Dork. And I couldn't say no. And that wasn't that long ago, which blew my mind at the time. So, and that's why like I was rambling on, but like about like knowing people is because for so long I did this in a bubble for myself,
right?
Really for self-expression, really as art therapy. So getting to a point so that I don't realize how many people are or are not aware of what I make. I do every time somebody makes it seem like it's more, I guess I post something in the Cabal and I guess a decent react. I don't know how many people really pay that much attention to it. I assume not that many. That it's that's maybe my own sort of like defense mechanism of never driving my own hopes up. Not hopes isn't the right word, but like
I know what you mean.
Never coming up with like an assumption of like success.
Right. I mean,
that's
how many people, like something or whatever, like that doesn't validate you. That doesn't make you,
yeah. Well, I mean, it does validate me, which is one of the reasons that if I make something and a lot of people really like it, it's very validating, but it's one of the reasons I don't assume a lot of people do, because it's like a defense mechanism I have.
Right.
But also I don't see it from any point of view other than I post it and like I look at people's comments and I want to see that people, like it. And I but I don't know, again, like what I was talking about before, like I just don't know that many people personally. So it still feels like it's a bit of a bubble. I don't know. It's very hard for me to articulate, I guess, but it's very surreal. It's incredibly surreal to me and amazing. It's very, very, it's like been a very interesting ride over the past year because everything's happened in the past year.
Now, would you say you've had the best reception with your customs using Mythics and Cosmics?
Yes. Other than maybe like, again, like this is the best reception without a doubt, because this is a point where, I make things and I come up with silly backgrounds and all of this stuff, but this is stuff that people always ask me why I use the colors I use and why I do a lot of the stuff that I do. And I often say I like colors. I never give an honest answer because it's hard to articulate. But
Right.
like a lot of this stuff is like very much like it's like mood, you know. All of these things are. And the first custom I think I made that was like I'll you know like all this stuff I think is art therapy, and I think a lot of people who paint. I've spoken to a lot of people who have attention deficit disorder who paint. There's a lot of, it's very easy to find a way to sort of tame strong emotions through art. And so to put it, you know, I have had a history of, you know, strong emotions that needed taming. I'll put it that way, without to not get like wildly personal. But
right.
And I say that just to not get too into details, but I know that this is not uncommon amongst customizers, because I've had this conversation with so many people, and all these things that the colors I use, like they're all a mood. They're the mood I'm in. And so this stuff is like much more like what an emotion looks like to me. And like, that's the abstraction. So to get the reception I get, when I know that in my head, like this is, you know, it's an ogre that has pigtails for a beard.
Right.
But like there are things, certain color combinations are very much certain, I associate with certain moods. And I don't go into it too much because I always sound I sound to myself. I never want to sound very pretentious.
I understand. Yeah.
There is synesthesia is, you know what that is?
I've never heard that. No.
So it is when your like your senses can get you can like something that you see, you can also feel with a different sense that you shouldn't feel with eyes. So for instance, a lot of musicians say that they can hear music. They can see music.
Yes.
So a ton of musicians say, right. So that's what that is, because it's just like two different senses. So I learned very late in life that is something I have, which happens with music. I think for me, it happens with color, and then it applies to all these other things, including emotions. So having figured that out about myself, I've been able to figure out how to, you know, like if I listen to certain music or if it's a certain type of time of year, the way I'm painting, the colors I choose, like the combination of colors, even if the combination is as very simple as different, you know, pants than torso, is all to the degree that I don't even consciously think about it anymore. Getting back to the point, I mean, that's the reason it's very gratifying for me, is because that is like the real basis of everything that I make. Is sort of like, you know, like there are colors to me that I look at them and they just like taste like citrus, and they're not just, you know, like pink is not a citrus color, but that's just like how I organize these things in my head.
Right.
And it's not from like, you know, taking acid and painting. It's just my brain receptors are weird.
No, I whatever you're doing is like no other customizer that I've seen. Just the I mean, just looking at this, that the way that the colors are so different, but they all gel together. It's like there's symmetry in the colors.
So I'm going to tell you something really interesting about that paint. That is one paint, the orange and the green.
Are you serious?
I am serious. There's a type of paint that TurboDark makes that is called a Zenith Shift. And what it is it's a different color over white. You know, the figure that you own is one paint. And it is, so just like this. So that is over white, you get that orange, and over black, you get that green. And the one that you bought from me is, there's like the pinker part is over white, and the more purple part is over black. And the really, really pink parts were over pink. So I've been messing around with like that reel. I don't know if you're going to pull up the reel.
Which one? This one? Here?
Yeah, that looks like that. That's the one that looks like your figure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the same thing. It's just I painted different parts of that black and different parts of that with a really hot pink and different parts of it white. And that's the result. And there's some other parts that are blue on there, but like that gun is one paint.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
amazing.
really fun. So like that's interesting because Turbodor, when I was started using it, it was kind of felt like a gimmick because you just like, wow, it's just crazy looking. But after a while, it becomes like a tool to get a certain effect. And I really love this psychedelic nature of, I don't know a better word to use than psychedelic, but I've always really loved psychedelic art. I'm kind of surrounded by some because I find that it's just like there's something weird about it. The music too, it's just like it gives you a certain mood, I guess.
Right.
And this paint, if you really like get into nitty gritty of how you're applying it, give you really crazy results to look at. So then that paint is just one paint. I airbrush that whole thing after prepping it in 3 different paints, a pink and a white.
That's amazing.
Black. Romeo and Juliet.
Amazing. Yeah, I don't see anyone else using colors the way that you do. It's just
it's like that is for me. It's just like very emotional. Like just that is what I get, like a certain amount of adrenaline from looking at certain like something like this. It gives me like an emotional adrenaline to look at. That's like the pink, which I don't know. Maybe I have that behind me. Maybe I don't. Like really neon pink and magenta like hits me in a way that is very emotional just to look at it.
It does something, definitely.
And yeah, so I use it as often as possible. I love it.
I mean, it doesn't even look real to me. It looks like I don't even know. I mean, I remember looking at this whenever you posted a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't even know how you do this stuff, Jay. Like, I have no idea.
I'll tell you, because it's very doable.
Blows my mind.
I think it's doable. So, take a figure and you base it black, and then you dry brush it white. Just lightly, because you don't want to make a mess in like I don't want to cover the whole thing white, but just to get an idea what the shape is, and then repaint like the raised parts white, and something like the beard, you just dry brush it white and leave it. And then after everything is defined and you still have the black, then you go back in. And sometimes I started using Gundam markers because it's a little bit easier to be precise than painting. And then really pull out what is black and keep it as dark as possible. Then you have a figure that's just completely black and white, which can look on its own like pretty great. And that's how I make a Moon Knight. And that's why I have this book here that I don't know. Like that is where, like, if you look at this, like that's every once in a while, just opening this up and looking at the way the shadow works is, whatever. I find it to be useful. But then I just go to the airbrush station and then take now Heretics for Heresy for Heretics is a YouTube channel. He's an incredible he does Warhammer painting, but he uses army paints, and he does a ton of 80s stuff and a lot of synthwave. And he gave me this idea and just layering using the airbrush, because if you use an airbrush, it blends perfectly as long as you're doing it while it's still kind of wet, So you just airbrush it in that color gradient, and it dries, and then bring it back here and go ahead and every single thing that, with the airbrush, the black becomes kind of less black. Just going back in as carefully as possible. It's a lot of steps. Those things are a lot of work, the ones that I've made.
I can tell. And
it is it's very difficult to get precision for me. I'm not good at precision painting. I cannot paint an eyeball. There are so many painters out there that like I can rattle off names of customizers who like blow my mind all the time. And I could never do so that's like a problem with that. If you held that really close to your like that nose is all jacked up, and so are the eyes, because after a while you just get a lot of paint in there, and I'm trying to highlight the try to like go into the shadows of the nose after going and then you get the black on there, and it's like getting that off if you mess up, and then going back and getting the fluorescent on again. It's a lot, but that's how you get the effect anyway. It's a lot of fun. And I think you could do it in the course of like not even a whole weekend. You would have to have not that much else to do.
Now, do you see your art evolving, like the customs that you're doing? Like, are you going in different directions, or are you kind of focusing on
to make things that are less just turbo dork or less? I'm trying to make things that are, I'm trying to make stuff like that look just better and kind of, because that, like the picture that you brought up was in a black light. So that's why that one looked particularly crazy.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the first time I tried to do a blacklight figure had to be 2021. And I had like the Thanos Build-A-Figure that was garbage. That was a Walmart exclusive after it was a Build-A-Figure. And I attempted to do the panel lining, and it looked like trash. I was really proud of myself for trying. And the fact that, and I gave up because it was so difficult. The fact that I can do this now, I mean, it's 5 years later, but was nice. I didn't realize I could do this again until like right before Legion's Con. It's been a few months that I've been messing with that style again. But I'm trying to do things that are a little bit like incorporating what I'm trying to incorporate more of. I skipped over like making things that may look. I'm trying to figure out how to start. I have to start over. My apologies. I'd like to be able to make things that have the, the style that I guess I'm known for, also incorporating things that are probably a little bit more typical of a figure. So even if it's just like I don't use the color red ever. And it's because red and green, for whatever reason, are like gray to me. They're like so neutral to me. I find them to be very like boring. And I don't know if that makes, I don't know how to explain that to anyone, because most people would disagree. But then, so I made a Fury Orc, and it was interesting coming up with something that was red and having to find a way to make work with the type of paints I would normally use. So that I'm trying to do stuff like if that's a little bit more, I guess, normal and also not normal, because I think that gets a certain reaction from people. And also because I will make things, it challenges me to get reactions from people, I guess, because otherwise I will make things that look the same. Every single thing I make will be like indigo. If I don't
get what you mean. Yeah.
Like literally, if you look through my account, it is like all indigo. I don't know what it is about that, but
no, I get it. I get it. You want to challenge yourself, and push the envelope, but you also want to touch people and, make things that they react to as well.
Yeah, but I feel like also I make so much for, it's like I skip the step of doing certain things that are, it's like part of learning, right? Like if you're going to learn any way of, like if you're going to learn to play music or anything, like you don't really want to skip certain steps. And I think I mean, it's been a while since I've really been painting things that were more just as they would look in reality. I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, how can I mix something as it would look in reality with something that also shouldn't? Not that a Fury Orc exists in reality, but or in lore, I guess.
But does that interest you?
It interests me to make it work. I mean, if I can make it work, that's a challenge, and meeting a challenge is interesting. I mean, one of the things I'm working on now is all silver and red, because this is what I'm making a commission for Jonathan Hedgehog.
Hedgehog, yeah.
So, like, I want to say, like, I don't know if you can see this. So this silver has actual bits of silver in it, and I mean, you can't see it, but it sparkles when it literally sparkles when you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, it's a challenge because it's not like a regular silver. So I guess sort of just like still something that it's something that it's I don't know how to articulate it. It's something that is still within the style that I would make, but like toned down, I guess is maybe the best way of putting it. But because I won't tone myself down, and it's good to know how to do that.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to show off this one that I got you, and I don't usually reach out to customizers, and I don't usually buy customs, but I saw this, and I think it was a work in progress that you were working on.
It was I was experimenting with that paint, and I had used parts from an old custom so it was there. I let it be like there was all these scratches on the torso. I had to do a whole new torso. But so I have a thing when if I make something, and I told you this, and somebody has a reaction to it. Generally, I mean, especially if it's somebody I know has like an immediate reaction to it that it like I know it hits them for one reason or another. I just kind of like want them to have it. So when you immediately said that you would want to have it, like it was right after I posted it, I was like, that meant a lot to me. I'd give everything I made away for free if it was easier for me to do.
Right.
It's cool if somebody wants to own something I make. It's like super crazy to me. Still, it will never not be humbling for me. I can never imagine just like bringing things to sell and just it being like a financial transaction and stops there. Not that I think other people do that, but I'm very grateful for it. And that's probably because like the journey of making customs is so personal to me because it has so much to do with like learning about myself. And it's been like a twisted, winding road. So to have somebody have like a real reaction and see them have the reaction to something is like, it's still wild to me. I don't know that it ever will not be anything but wild.
Yeah, I really got a kick out of watching Hedgehog's reaction too when he opened it. Like he was so excited opening the package of the custom that you had sold him, and just his excitement. And
I got a kick out of watching both of you open it. It made me very happy.
Oh, we were both so happy. But you're right though when it comes to I can't imagine what it's like to create something and then have it move someone enough to have them reach out. And
I disagree with you because you have this show and people are always watching it and commenting on it, and it must be a very similar feeling.
I mean, I try to showcase other people. It's not about me. It's about, like showcasing artistry and creativity.
Sure. But you facilitate it, right? I mean, it's sort of like having a gallery. And what's the word? There's a word that I can't think of. If you own a gallery, then you curate it, right?
I curate.
You're curating the content. So you must be curating content that people. I had a conversation with Josh Brown in which he was like, I don't paint and I don't even always have the idea for these heads. Like I just asked somebody to make something. But I was like, yeah, but you pick and choose what's on your store.
Right.
You can't just tell me that you don't do anything. You just want, you're curating like a store that is your taste is different.
Right.
His store is different than every other store. And somebody else's store is all of the stores are different. Because I think curating is really interesting and important, which is what I think that you do. And everybody who has a YouTube show.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. No, I love creativity. And I think that's one of the things that really is so alluring about this community is that there's so many creative people that all come together and just so many good people. And they all just kind of not feed off each other, but bounce off creative, like all the creative juices and the vibes or energy or whatever you want to call it. Like it's tangible,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah, it's like it's like an ecology, because you have the figures, right? And then you have the sculptors, then you have the 3D printers, and sometimes people who have stores reach out to a sculptor because they have something they want, or sometimes the sculptor just makes something. But either way, you have the figure, and then you have the person who's making a 3D sculpt, and then you have the person who's printing it and selling it, and you have the people making dioramas. Dioramas. That was a weird accent that I don't even know where that came from.
That's all right.
Dioramas. And then
Dioramas.
When you are putting a custom together, or you're putting a display together, all of these things are, and you could even bring in like a paint company or whatever. They're not part of the community, but it's part of customizing. You have the ability to create, like if you're making a custom and you're putting it in a diorama, or you have this one diorama piece that really like inspires you, and you are also including 3D printing. There are so many different creative minds that go into allowing you to make something, and then you sell it to someone else. And like, that is like a crazy, like there are so many steps, and that's what's amazing to me about this community. That's what really struck me. That was one of my biggest takeaways, I think, from the first Legions Con, because I went to Legions Con because I was really excited to be able to buy a lot of figures, like, and have them just be in front of me and like in stock. But really, I went for 3D printed stuff, and that, to me, as a customizer and just somebody who was always really admired and been inspired by that part of this world, and like not even just for Legions, I just think we get the best stuff.
Yes, I agree.
As far as 3D printed, as far as the people who are sculpting and the people who have stores, we get the most interesting stuff. Because if you customize, Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe, you're just going to get like a head sculpt for one of those characters that already exists. Right. That to me was like Toys R Us. That was I can go to Toys R Us now, and it won't be as Toys R Us feeling as my first Legions Con, going from 3. Like, I had so much. I still have unpainted stuff, and there's a couple of things. I know in the online inventory of any, like, I don't know if they're like 7 stores. I may go to more often than others just because I don't know why, no good reason, but like I know where everything came from. I could go through these drawers that I have here and tell you where everything came from, except for like 5 things I got at Legions Con last year in 2024, because I went home like a day later and I was like, I don't know who I bought this from.
Right. Because of the unique styles, they're all, but they're like signatures now. You can tell.
Yeah, well, I know who the sculptors are, and I know who has what exclusives, but that was chaos. That was really great. I loved, like, my first experience just buying 3D printed stuff in person was amazing. I don't know if anybody, like, I don't mean to say if anybody gets as excited as me, but like I felt like, I don't know if it's like a very basic thing to people to, but like I was just like blown away by being able to do that. I guess after years of shopping for stuff online, never imagining seeing it in person. I don't know. That's when I thought it didn't go anywhere. I think the coffee is wearing off.
So to kind of sum things up, it's all art. You're an artist, I think. I think you make amazing things, and I'm grateful that you are part of this community, making what you do. Like you fit in, you're part of this community, and I feel like people have kind of embraced you and accept you and love the things that you're doing, man. I think
thank you. I mean, it's really
where you're supposed to be.
It is. It is, and it's amazing, and it's hard to. Again, it's like maybe because I didn't collect figures for so long, and because I didn't paint. Like people have been collecting their whole lives, obviously, and have like epic collections, and there's that imposter syndrome partially, and I don't know, like, and I'm still getting to know a lot of people. And the scene, if you will, has existed for a long time. But it's still I don't know if it's surreal, maybe isn't the right word, but it's kind of like a trip to me, which is, I know it's something that is so basic to a lot of people. I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful for how the past really year, it's been a 12-ish, maybe 11 months since like a landmark moment that I can think of where things have like really changed as far as seeing people really being interested in what I was making. And without like being super personal or oversharing, because I'm not going to say exactly anything specific, but like it coincided with just something happening that was like unpleasant. Like something like I went through like a rough time, not just something unpleasant, like a life experience that was unfortunate, I guess. So whatever. The point is, like, it could have been a very bad year, and there was a period of time in which I was like really unable to. I was just like really crushed by something that happened, and this like erased it completely. And like, this part is like you get this sort of serotonin rush with toys and all of this,
Yes,
like, and making things, but like I think making a custom, and this is like an important takeaway, is for me always, it doesn't really matter if it's good per se. Like I made a lot of customs like that are shit that I still have. I have all the landmark customs, like most of them are the first ones, and they're not good. I mean, some of them are hard for me to look at, but like I will never get rid of them because they mean so much to me. But like the serotonin hit of making something and creating something, and feel like you could post it and have people see it and just like appreciate it and say something about it, is like I would advocate for everybody to try to customize, because in this community it's like it's so easy to kind of just like take the stuff apart and mess around with it and just really paint and not just pop and swap. Nothing against popping and swapping, but like the validation of that in general is great. And for me personally, the validation of like really the past year has been like life altering in a weird way. I don't know how to explain it. I don't, again, like I don't get like, I feel like it would get wildly personal. It's not my intention, but like it was just like really like a course correct in, and it stuff like didn't happen. I feel like at this age, and that's like the magic of customizing to me and this community.
So for you, it was the right thing at the right time.
There couldn't have possibly been a more right thing at a more right time. It was wild. Like that just don't happen usually at the same time. That something happens that could really just like go through a difficult time, and there's like a bunch of different things happening that were just in general at a certain period of time, and then have something so positive happen that's sort of like, it's very simple. I say this and I want to be like, I'm a very basic person, but like this was to a degree, like this acceptance in this kind of a community was like almost like enough. Like it was something that I didn't realize I necessarily like always needed. And I assume that other artists feel that way. I don't know if people say it. But I think that's the validation that we all look for. I know that people do, because I speak to a lot of people, in this very odd, like little bubble of customizers that I know, it's something that it's very meaningful. Because I think it's like, the people, everybody who is really kind of just like commenting and liking the stuff that we post, it's very validating. And again, this was a thought that could have been articulated much better. At some point in the middle of those sentences, my brain started thinking about something I saw on my bookcase over there, and I kept talking while thinking to myself, oh, I forgot that I owned that TARDIS. which is a Doctor Who thing that I did.
Yes, I know what it is. Yeah.
So my brain was thinking that, and also trying to articulate out loud something very deep, and you know, the magic of attention deficit disorder.
That's all right. That's right.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it's fine.
you.
I think it's funny.
So for people that are interested in your customs, they can reach out to you in the community. You've got your Instagram here.
Yeah, like to buy them.
Yes.
Yeah, so I will sell almost anything. There's an almost, but you can DM me. I've been meaning to post something. I have a claim sale that was in the Purple Gang group that is like, you know, was supposed to be a week long. I own most of that stuff, almost everything there is available. You can check that out. You can look at what I post. I've been meaning to put up another sale on Facebook. I'm sorry, in the Cabal. Like I said, I have not slept well, and I'm crashing.
No, you're fine.
But it's fine. I'm doing a great job.
You are. I agree.
Yeah. I like to make fun of myself. I've been meaning to put up another sale on the Cabal, and why I haven't, I don't 100% know. It's like every time I start to think about getting all the pictures together, it's kind of like, oh, it's a lot of work.
It's work. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work because, you know, I want to post like one picture that just shows the figure, but I don't want anybody to just see like a front view of it. If you're going to buy a custom figure, you should see a decent view of it.
I agree.
So I kind of like in my head, I want to give the closest thing to seeing something in real life before you buy it, because getting a custom figure, a picture of you don't really know what you're getting, and I don't want to send anybody and they anticipate one thing and they get something else.
Right.
And
I would say with your customs too, like photographs don't really do justice to the colors, I think.
So I'm going to admit something now. Every single thing that I post is edited highly. If I showed you a picture like a figure that I took with Turbodork just under lights, it would look like not that exciting. So I go back and I edit the color to get it to look the closest possible to what it looks like in real life. And I used to be very afraid that when somebody saw it in person, it would look better edited. But then I had brought something out to a show, and I realized for myself, and also by seeing other people's reactions, but then it made me realize that it still looks better in person. It's impossible and that's a compliment, not to me, but to the paint. It is impossible to capture what these look like, that paint, to the naked eye.
100%.
Even with video. Because even when I film the stuff that I film outdoors, I have to edit it because it looks very
right.
It takes all the saturation out.
Yeah, because like looking at the screen of this, it doesn't look anything like it does in person.
Yeah, well,
it looks more vibrant in person, way more vibrant.
The paint is like an optical illusion a little bit, and that's one of the reasons why. You know, like if you took one of those things, you see it in a museum that's supposed to like fool your eye, and I held it up here, it wouldn't do the same.
Right.
But which is the reason that I'm looking forward to CarverCon to have a whole bunch of stuff out. And what I'm going to do is, I have a lot of stuff. I didn't ever want to sell things, so I had all this stuff on display. I'm going to take all the figures that I had on display. I don't have a ton of room for them. And I'm going to bring them, and everything that's been displayed, I'm probably going to sell for, I don't know what price yet, but it's not going to be expensive. Just because I would like people to own them, and because it's like gently worn, maybe they still look good, I think. So I wanted to sell those online, but I felt like maybe it would be better to see something, the joints maybe weren't prepped, so in the back, you'd have like a different color, and just I would feel better having somebody see that than just kind of like buying it online. But I'm going to bring a bunch of that stuff out. I'm really, really excited about the community project. I'm just going to plug that, even though it has nothing to do with me. But
for sure,
if that community project that Brian has going on for CarverCon is amazing. If anybody hasn't seen that, you roll a die, you roll a D10 to find out the faction you're in, a faction, a D10 to find out a species, and a D20 to find out an occupation, right? You saw that he was doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a character, and then you're supposed to customize and bring it to CarverCon. So like I wound up rolling a Lithia's Brood Goblin Berserker, which is the most insane combination.
And it's interesting
because like the Brood is like very like haughty and sort of like elegant and like you know kind of stuck up looking, and then also like super like precise and like you know they're evil in a way that is like unfeeling, right? But also like fancy. Just like one of the I really like that faction because like not that I it's a really cool idea, but like part of it is like removing yourself from it. It's like they all look like they have like butlers and shit.
Right.
Like they all look like super fucking rich.
Yes.
But they're also vampires. Like it's such a cool, the aesthetic is cool with the purple and like the pink. Then you have a goblin, and goblins are like mischievous and like devious, and they're not precise at all. It's like they're polar opposites.
Right.
And then you have a berserker. So like I feel like nobody in the Brood has a sense of humor. And if anything, like at all. And then goblins are like out like creating like havoc that is like probably fucked up, but like you know to them it's funny. And then you have a berserker, like then you have a character who would go into battle and like there's like barbarian rage times like I think to my understanding you would in D&D if you had the berserkers like I can't think of the word, but like you can make your barbarian a berserker and like rage becomes frenzy and you just like a whirling dervish out in battle without any control, which is the opposite of a somebody in the Brood for sure. Right. And if you try to combine all of that into what it would look like, and that would be a fun character to play. So I feel like I kind of hit like a jackpot with that character, and I made it in 2 days, partially because I mean like I had everything in front of me. It was very easy for me to find the parts with like the fodder, but like that's a really fun experiment. And I have die here, and I have been dropping it. I've been rolling like randomly to just be like, what do I come up with next to see if I come up with something that would be another cool custom. Because it's such a good idea.
It is a great idea. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's fun.
It gets our minds going creatively.
Yeah,
sure.
like you know, when somebody has a simple idea and it's like it's not simple because it's an amazing idea, but it's like it's so like perfect. I would have never thought of it though, you know. It's great.
Right.
I found that to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much, Jay, for your time, dude. I'd love to have you back again. I think you're super awesome, dude. And I
feel the same way about you.
Thank you. I find what you say is very interesting. And I'm interested in your art and where you're going creatively, what you're making is interesting to me. So I will definitely be
thank you.
Definitely be following you. I'm a fan of your work and you. So thank you very much for being on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this beautiful custom. And I will see you at CarverCon, which is July 15th, 16th, 11th.
I don't know.
11th. July. In July, mid-July.
That sounded right to me.
I think you're right. I think it's like
sure.
15th or 16th or something like that.
But we'll find out when we get there. Hopefully one of us will be on the right day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jay, so much for your time, man.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, people, for watching. We appreciate you. Good night. Thank you.
Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.